So we've been making a lot of videos in this basic format, this discussion, this awareness, this consciousness-raising extravaganza of purified knowledge. And we've been doing that for a while. But I want to let you know that I am experimenting with a new format. I'm not sure if it will eventually replace the old format or if it will work in conjunction. I think that's a matter of time and energy. I like this format, and it's a great format. It really gets to the heart of a discussion. It really gives me the opportunity to share things that I think are relevant, important, and that people want to understand. By the same token, we're lacking some of the other stuff. People want to see examples, and they want to see maybe clips and other viewpoints. And so maybe a different format. It's not suitable for this format, so I'm looking at another format, maybe like a show format. It's in development, and we'll eventually announce it or release something. It won't be immediate. Today's discussion is an important discussion. It's a discussion that I've had before. So it's an ongoing discussion, and I think it's really important. And it has to do with hobbling, the hobbling of the human spirit. Yes. Because I think fundamentally, if you've had a past life and you've reincarnated and you've been reborn, or you came back, you didn't graduate, it's in your benefit not to remember everything, because that would ruin the experience. Right? Oh, I've seen that before, I've done that, I've done this, that hasn't been a big deal. There's no experience, there's no surprise, there's no lesson to be learned, because you have full awareness. B, you may have certain abilities that allow you to circumvent things, to manipulate reality, to regenerate, to alter human thought, to accumulate great knowledge or wealth, like that. You might have developed those abilities, and then you bring them back. And the first thing you're going to do, you're going to start manipulating reality to your advantage. That's just natural, right? I don't like this. Let's get rid of that person. Let's bring in some money. Let's cure myself of the disease. So we can't have that. Again, that ruins your experience. You don't learn. The reason you're in the hospital is you need to learn something. The reason you're in a bad marriage or you're in a perpetual series of bad relationships is you don't understand something about self-love. When we come back, we have to hobble the individual, hobble the spirit, such that you can experience all of those lessons, right? You're experiencing these lessons, you're not able to do the things that you're supposed to do. In many cases, you're hobbled on a schedule. Again, when I talk, some of this stuff may sound strange, and we don't have the vocabulary for all of this stuff. And so sometimes I'm inventing vocabulary to explain what's been going on for a long time. I think later on we might get some more some better vocabulary. But for now, you come in this life and you have this life. This is your life. Now, you need to learn lessons. If you come in with full awareness and all of your powers, you're not going to learn anything. So you get hobbled. Hobbled. Hobbled is a way to cripple or block or render useless, deactivate, make inert any of your processes, abilities. So DNA could be hobbled, deactivated, genes deactivated, turned off, genes turned off, a combination of genes turned off. Spiritual abilities, hobbled, blocked. You're not allowed, you're not authorized access to that. Again, it's within the context of, I sign a contract to incarnate under these conditions because I want to learn these lessons, X, Y, Z. In order to learn these lessons, I cannot have these abilities or powers, right? So what I'm saying also is that in many cases, some people here are far more powerful than they appear to be in real life. Maybe in many cases, as a spirit, you have full knowledge. You understand love. You have telepathic ability. You have regenerative ability. You can portal to other dimensions. You can heal others. Right? You can open portals. You understand the science of time travel. When that spirit is forced into this physical object known as the human body, you don't have those powers. Again, if you had all those powers, the human experience would become inert. It would become a waste of time. It defeats the process, right? Hey, I'm gonna go to Earth and I know everything. I'm gonna get bored. I would be bored. I gotta stay here for 100 years, but I know the answers. I know the future. I know what my mother's gonna say. I know the person I'm gonna marry. I know when my kid's gonna have an accident. I know when I'm gonna get fired from my job. I know what I'm gonna get on my job. I'm gonna get a bonus. It's boring. The opposite of that is people go through life not knowing. And it's like stressing them out. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if I can pay my rent. I don't know if my boyfriend's cheating on me. I don't know if anybody will ever love me. Will I ever get married? I don't know if I can get pregnant because I'm not producing enough eggs. I don't know if I'm gonna get a raise because I just bungled up the account and the client's upset at me and my manager is gonna give me a poor performance review. My health, I got something, they found something in my leg. I don't know what it is. You know, the president is not good. We want a new president. I don't know who it would be. It's a mystery. Life is an unending series of mysteries, and it's stressful. But that's the opposite of knowing, right? Imagine you knew everything. Everything. And everything you wanted came true. It's boring. Trust me. It's boring. So the Earth School is designed for learning, and learning has to have challenges. You have to be pushed outside your comfort zone. So you may have had a good life and you worked hard and you're motivated and you're aggressive and you treat your friends great and you're loyal, and then something happens and you're pushed out of your comfort zone. And you're forced to do things that you'd never think of doing. Because otherwise, life is boring. It's as simple as that. You're not going to learn anything by doing everything right. You've done it, then something happens. You have a near-death experience. Family member dies. There's a crisis. There's a trauma. There's a tragedy. I had to relearn. I had to learn how to walk again. I had to end my marriage. I had to change my career. That's when you're starting to activate that repressed DNA, that deactivated DNA. It's there. You just needed the motivation to remove that block, to open up the DNA. I've talked about it before that, you know, when I woke up and started talking about stellans and interstellar cultures and starcrafts and people walking through portals. At the same time all that was happening, that was all outside of my comfort zone. That was way outside of anything that I even understood. And I was forced, I had a choice. The choice was to understand it or to shun it, to be afraid. And most people's like, you know, just forget about it, just forget about it. And for whatever reason, I understood that to go forward, I needed to embrace it. And it's very difficult. I lost friends and family and money. My career was thrown out into the toilet. Everything. I lost everything. Everything I was familiar with, I lost. I had to lose. Because in order to understand that, it was such a difference, such a change. I took that path, and it turned out to be the right path. It's a difficult path. Not everybody's going to do that. Not everybody's going to have that situation. But you're going to be pushed out of your comfort zone. By the same token, the pushing myself out of my comfort zone, it allowed me to remove blocks that were put before incarnation. I had to remove those blocks in order to move forward. In order to survive, in some cases, in order to survive, I had to increase my awareness 100-fold. I had to awaken my DNA. And then you have to learn how to do that, right? Now, that proves my point that I came and you came here as a hobbled human being on many levels. And then you have the opportunity to remove those blocks, whether it's energetic block, whether it's DNA, spiritual block, sometimes whether it's a spell. In some cases there's a spell, which is magic. Well, let's go a little bit further now. We've talked about magic. Let's say there's a magical spell blocking your awareness of something. Or let's just say there's a magical spell that makes you afraid to accept the validity of star beings, right? That's a block. Fear. When you think of star beings, you become afraid because there's a spell, which is a block. Now, no one else knows about that spell, but you know you're afraid of star beings. In this example, right? Could be anything. In this example, you're afraid of star beings. And you realize, after a lot of work, you realize, well, maybe there's a spell, there's a block. You realize it's a spell. And so you go find a magician to help you remove that spell. Well, it's pretty advanced. They're not able to help you. So maybe you realize, gee, in order to remove that block, whatever it is, in this example, I'm calling it a spell of fear. Let's say whatever, to remove that block, the hobbling, that's a hobbling, a block, you have to activate your own magical power. You see what I mean? Now there's a hindrance, there's a hurdle, and other people can't help you. You're asking people, you're going around, they can't help you because it pertains to you. There's something that pertains to you. So in order to remove that, I have to realize that I have magical ability. Wow. Then I have to activate my magical ability. That's a whole process in itself. By activating my magical ability, I will be able to remove that spell. And then I might find other blocks. I might, as a magically aware person, I might be able to activate my DNA. I might be able to remove other blocks. I might be able to see now my past life, right? So the hurdle, whatever it is, if it's a disease, if it's a near-death experience, a relationship, career crash, tragedy, that the obstacle forces you to re-examine and to remove those blocks. And that awakening allows you to further remove, hey, there's more blocks and there's more, all of these things were hobbled. I wasn't aware of it, right? I was blind. I was blind to certain things. Couldn't see it. I was missing an answer to a question. And then you start to remove those blocks, and that there's big blocks, there's obvious blocks, and there's fine blocks, which are these questions that don't have an answer. You know, why do I always have an affinity for this? Right? Why have I always done this? And there are answers to that. And those, when you search, when you investigate, and when you understand, you can remove the block. Hobbling, it's, to my understanding, it's a very standard procedure that everyone comes here hobbled. The incarnation into the physical body is hobbling itself because it's so limiting. It's limited, you're limited to the five senses, we're limited by scientific knowledge, you're limited by your peers, you know, there's all these limitations built in. But in addition to those, you have your hobbling, your blocks, your spiritual and awareness limitations. And then you might have, a hobbling can also look in other ways. You might be somebody who's not able to hold on to money. Like you might make money and then you just waste it. And you might make a ton of money and then you waste it. And this theme might run through your life. Well, you could think, well, gee, I have a problem. On one level, you could have a psychological problem, you could have a behavioral problem, an addiction. On a spiritual level, maybe in the past life, you had money, right? You had a lot of money. And you did things with it that you shouldn't have done. That when you have money, you'll go off in the wrong direction. You'll go off the path. So when you're in this life, you're hobbled financially, such that you'll never have that kind of money, and therefore you'll stay on the path. You'll stay, let's say the path is being humble. You'll be more humble. You'll practice humility, because you'll never have that. The money will never, you'll never be able to hold on to it. In some cases, a person will incarnate, and they're here to serve others, to help others. And they're very advanced. They're spiritually advanced beings, angelic souls. They come here, and they struggle in life with their finances. They live meager, they fight to pay their bills, and they never have enough. Well, on some level, you could think it's bad luck. I'm not saying in every case, but in some cases, that was part of the hobbling in order for you to do what you're supposed to do, help people. Work with certain people, meet certain people, be in a certain group. And so your finances are crippled. That could be a hobbling. That's also a hobbling, right? That comes from incarnation. Now, in some cases, once you've served, you're able to remove that block, and you might start making some money. You might even do really well by removing that block, or someone removes that block. Hobbling, there's different reasons for it, and it is structured according to your incarnation curriculum, what you came here to learn. A lot of the times, the blocks are scheduled to be removed at certain ages or certain levels of awareness, which can coincide with age. You have certain level of understanding. When you have certain level of understanding, a block may be removed, because now you have the maturity and the wisdom not to abuse it, right? Not to go back, right? So things are put in place to protect your learning, your education, and to prevent you falling off. Because let's say let's say I'm young, I had a ton of money and a ton of energy, but no wisdom, and I had issues with anger. I had no blocks. Now, someone angers me, and I use all my money and energy, and I start destroying people, killing people. And now my whole life is ruined, right? Because I had no blocks. But let's say I am born and my anger is hobbled. I don't get angry. So when somebody does something to me, I don't retaliate. And people see that, well, he's this kind of person. But let's say I'm hobbled, because if I get angry, right? Or I get angry, but I don't have a lot of energy. Or, you know, there's forgiving. I'm very forgiving. I'm given an abundance of forgiveness to compensate for my anger, that people will anger me. Or I don't have the financial resources or the physical strength to retaliate. So with these blocks, I'm able to move forward and do the things I need to do. And people may say you're a certain kind of person, but at least you're on the path, right? That's right, you're on the path. Now, when you get older and you're more mature and you're in control of your anger, the blocks may be removed and you may be able to retaliate against what people did to you, right? To some extent. Every person is different, and we all come here hobbled. And you don't realize that you're hobbled until you wake up. Because once you wake, so if you want evidence, again, I always believe there is evidence. And we see it, we experience it. So if you wake up, if you ever waken up, that is evidence that you were asleep. I mean, it sounds, 1 + 1 is equal to 2. If I'm in bed and my eyes are closed and I wake up, I can infer that I have been sleeping. Whether it's a nap or sleep, I don't know. But I can infer that. So if I spiritually awaken and my awareness changes and I start looking into all kinds of alternative topics, alternative healing, essential oils. I start talking about chakras and the third eye and bases on the moon. I know that I have been awakened. If I have been awakened, then some of the blocks have been removed. Some of the DNA has been activated, whether it's through my own process or whether it's through some other process. That's evidence, right? So anybody watching this, and you're all into the conspiracy stuff and alternative knowledge, and you've always followed traditional medicine, and you believe in chanting, and drum circles, and puja ceremony, like, you've gone through awakenings. That means you were hobbled. Now, some of you have problems. You bring problems. You have a problem with your finances. You have a problems with your. You have a problems with your. You're afraid of getting into religion. You have these blocks. You're afraid to understand something. You have all these blocks. You bring it with you. You have emotional problems. You have trust issues. Those are all there for you to learn something. It's all there for you to learn something. Now, the goal is to remove the blocks. And once you realize that you can remove the blocks, that you can learn, you can push yourself out of the comfort zone. If you don't push yourself out of the comfort zone, which you normally do if you're spiritually aware, you will be pushed out of your comfort zone. Something will happen. At first, usually it goes into threes, right? Something happens and it nudges you forward, and then you'll try to rationalize and you say, I don't want to go. No. And you try to forget about it. And then something more severe happens, and then you say, well, it's getting bad, but I'm going to take a few pills. I'm going to forget about it. I'm going to distract myself. If that continues, then the next level is some tragedy, something serious. And then you're like, okay, I get the message. I got it. Now, when you're spiritually aware, the first incident, you're like, okay, I'm going to get going on it. I'm going to motivate myself. I'm going to take it. I'm not going to wait for the tragedy, right? The motivation, the hurdle, the obstacle, so that I can get out of my comfort zone. I can activate. I can open up new areas of knowledge, right? So hobbling, we all come here hobbled. Welcome to the hobbled life. And that's all designed to benefit your life. And if you want to keep growing, you keep learning. You keep pushing yourself. Push yourself out of your comfort zone. Not too far, but continue to challenge yourself and look for the signs. If you do experience a tragedy, that is a clear message of this is how you move forward, and you face the challenge. You face the tragedy. What's the lesson? I need to move forward. In many ways, making videos, talk about learning. Making videos is a way for me to move forward and how to manage all of this strange information. And at the same time, I'm also sharing it with others. I could have said, I don't want to do it. No one's listening. No one's watching. And I have said that. No one. But it's part of my way to move forward. It's pushed me out of my comfort zone. It's also helped me to open myself up. And it's also sharing that knowledge with others. So making a video is a way of moving forward and dealing with the tragedy of like, oh my God, what am I going to do with all this crazy knowledge? Well, right? So that's part of my path. That's part of my healing. That's part of my growth. That also that has also kept me on track, because when I share information, I have to know what I'm talking about. I have to do the research. I did a lot of research. I have a lot of books, right? All of that fundamentally changed my life. But that's what kept me on the path.